Okay, let me get the full title. Full title here.
Good luck.
Poison Soup for the Macabre, Depraved, and Insane,
Yay.
Nostalgic Terrors.
Say it 5 times fast.
I'm not going to do that. Edited by Wendy Dalrymple and Grace R. Reynolds. This will be a little bit different from my normal episodes, at least so far, in that it's going to be 2 editors, even though both of y'all write as well.
Mm-hmm.
But so we're going to take a slightly different tact. We're going to dig. There's going to be a lot of people listening who probably want to know who apply. They send stories into anthologies probably and want to know what the hell is happening. Why did I get picked? Why didn't I get picked? The thought process beyond all that stuff. I'll just start with this. This is obviously the poison soup thing, a little bit of a twist on the chicken soup. Do those books still exist?
I
Chicken
think
soup
so.
for the soul and all that. Thirst. I remember my mom loved them. I remember that specifically. My mom loved the chicken soup for the soul and the very, 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 very many spinoffs. What was the birth of this? Where did this start with? Where was the idea sprung from?
You want me to take this? Or you want to take this, Wendy?
You do it.
Okay. Oh my goodness. I think that, what was this, like a year ago, 2 years ago now, maybe, right? Yeah, we were talking about how I think we wanted to just see something positive happen. A lot of negative things were happening in the world, inside, outside of the horror community. And I think that we were both just thinking, what can we do to positively contribute to our community? And how can we bring everybody together? And this, I guess that's where the anthology was born from. And thankfully, Bridgesgate picked up our idea and our pitch, and they just ran with it with us.
It's very much here. This is my take on it, and you guys can correct me. It feels very much born out of a lot of the kind of warm feeling that there is certainly coziness in it. I think I think there's some aspects of the so-called cozy horror, but also I think it is that it's not necessarily, the coziness is not necessarily rooted in cozy things. Because there's some very horrific, really unsettling stories and poetry and even essays in this. And like obviously there's nostalgia in it as well, and about kind of origin stories of horror, all that stuff. And the warm feelings we have around that, which we don't explore very often. I certainly have not encountered an anthology like this before. Is that accurate?
I think so. Like I say in my intro too, a lot of it is that I'm nosy and I like to know like where's everybody else's genesis of horror. Like I know how long I've been interested in it. Like I know the things that caught my eye as a young child. Like it's been something I've always been drawn to, the dark side and dark stuff, dark literature, dark music, dark film. And why? But why are all of our peers and like what were the things that inspired them? That was something that I really wanted to dig into.
Yeah. I was just going to snowball off of that. I think it was really cool to see the common threads between all of the pieces. Despite how very different a lot of these pieces are. I was just thinking about like one of them as like that sense of otherness and the connection of that we all feel through that otherness, and how I think a lot of us, we like Christy Nichols says it best, I think, in the introduction. Like maybe you accessed horror at a different point in your life, or you just had different points of access. Like where can we all meet each other on that level ground of being able to discuss and enjoy this genre together? A lot of it came from otherness. Acceptance, I think, was another one. I always think about bravery. So I don't know. I'm just so happy. I'm so happy with how this anthology turned out. It's like,
I mean, I say this. I think I say this at the beginning of every episode because I'm guess I'm just a big mark, but I'm like, this is very good. Everyone should go get this. I like, unironically, it's really there is legitimately like great horror in it. It's not like I don't want to like it is both of those things. I think it is like a celebration of kind of this communal love of darkness and horror and scary things, but there are also like legitimately some of the best stories I've read this year are in the anthology. There's one in particular where I'm like, brilliant, very brilliant, and like I was very admiring it.
I'm curious to know which one it is.
It is what is Automated.
Oh, okay.
I loved Automated. It's really good. I was to hear that coming out of a killer like that was not the story I was expecting after a Killer Clowns essay. Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
LP is a fantastic author.
Yes, I mean it's not, and like that's just my taste. There's a lot, all the fiction's very very strong. All like, and y'all's roster in this is really incredible. Multiple Stoker Award winners, like top notch writers. And it kind of leads me into this question about how you organize this, because there's different sections of this that are there's oral tradition, there's cosmic horror, there's kind of centered around how the media that kind of inspired us, but even though I think that filters in through everything. Did that happen organically? Did you just like find the stuff that you wanted to include and then kind of shape them into those categories?
Yeah, I think a little bit of we already knew what we were looking for, and also seeing what was coming to us. I was very like we got I think almost 400 submissions, and we read all of them blind. We did not. That was one of our requests for our publisher Bridget's Gate, and I'm really glad that we did that because we didn't want to have any kind of bias on our friends who might have been submitting or anyone. We wanted to just actually pick the story based off of its merit. And so as we were reading, it became obvious which ones were written specifically for the call and which ones were just kind of thrown in like, oh, I've got this in my back catalog. Maybe this will fit. I was really happy with the ones that people genuinely understood the assignment and gave us what their interpretation of it was. And so as we were going through, Grace and I were like, we're seeing all these different themes. Like this is that. And that's kind of, once we selected our favorites, we then organized based off that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that we had like a framework in mind too, but we also went into reading submissions knowing that framework, it might change a little bit depending on what we received, which it was, I think we were expecting some things in one category, we got more in another category, which is very interesting. But I knew that at least the main categories, some version of that was in the original outline that we pitched to the publisher.
It's very funny because Robert Atone was my very first guest on this podcast.
Oh.
And I asked him a question about any of his childhood fears made it into his fiction. And he told me a story about drowning as a child. And then I find that story that in here, which I really, really enjoyed too. I really like Grandpa's Fighting Evil. I have wrote a book about it, Grandpa Fighting Evil, and I'll probably write another one. Old people as protagonists are always fun to me. Okay, this is going to be more. Next question is more again about the process of this, about figuring out the selection. How do you winnow it down? You say you have 400 entries.
There was a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a lot of reading and a lot of navigating what you actually want in the book. How did that look? What did that look like? You don't have to get into the deep nitty gritty about it, but
there's a spreadsheet.
Okay.
There was a lot of tabs.
Spreadsheet. So we had a word count that we had to hit, 60,000 words. We had a budget that was given to us by our publisher. And then we knew we wanted to have this many amount of poems in it. We knew we wanted this many amount of drabbles, this many amount of short stories, essays. So all of that had to be weighed together when we made our final selections. So as it always happens, some things that we truly liked, we had to cut just for word count or for it was too similar to another story.
Too similar.
Those sort of things.
Yep. And that was hard. That was so hard.
Is that the hardest thing about winning, like those last final cuts, those last few things you had to remove, the ones that you thought that probably are still very good, they just get narrowly edged out? Is that the hardest?
Yeah, I think that both of us could agree that there was, if we had unlimited budget, oh my gosh,
it would have been a phone book.
It would have been a trilogy.
I mean, who's to say if this does well? Could be Poison Soup too. More Poison Soup. I mean, they made so many of those chicken soup books. You could easily do more Poison Soup. I feel like there's a slew of more of them you could do if there's support. So that's another me telling you, all you listening, go buy it, and there could be more Poison Soup. So this is obviously going to be very particular to y'all, but I think it still would be, I think, broadly helpful. Is there any advice you give to people? You've been, but I assume both of y'all have been on both ends of this, where you've submitted to anthologies, and now you've seen the other end of that process as you've edited something. What would your advice be to people who are submitting? If you know, like, it doesn't, like, obviously it's always going to apply. Not all editors are y'all, but I feel like there's still some wisdom to be gleaned there.
Oh, well, there were some that we didn't even finish reading them because we would get a paragraph in and be like, you did not read the call because there's stuff like, you know, rape or incest that we specifically put into the call that we're not going to publish. So read the guidelines.
Yeah.
Yes.
Number one.
Yeah.
And then also just actually write to the call and don't just send in whatever you have and see if it'll stick.
I agree with that. Second, especially read the submission guidelines. Read them. I think that the advice I would give, and I think I submitting myself, going into a call, it's easy to tell yourself it's not personal if they don't pick it. Like coaching yourself, but I can tell you on the other side now, it is not personal. It really isn't. I think that this learning process, we saw that a piece that is selected for an anthology, it's part of a process where everything has to be cohesive, or as near perfect cohesiveness as possible. So I would just say, don't beat yourself up if you get a rejection. You just don't. Like, I think we've all been through this, right? It happens.
I think my mission lately has been get as many rejections as I possibly can to seek it out. Because then
you have to get one rejection for every 100 things. It's just how it goes.
Yes, you're going to get lots and lots of rejections. It's the nature of the beast. But I mean, I think there is read instructions. I think is important.
Well, that was the biggest one too, right? Like when you said we had a specific word count that we had to stay within for parameters. And I remember there were a couple pieces that we loved, but when they went over word count, and not just by a couple words, like we're talking like a couple hundred words, or like with poetry, for example, a lot of the times you'll see in submission calls, they'll tell you a certain line count. So I want to say that for this anthology, we asked for no more than 35. Things like that we have to take into account. No matter, like, if it's a wonderful, wonderful piece, we can't take it if it doesn't meet the guidelines.
Follow the rules. It seems so simple.
It seems simple.
But my piece is special. It needs those 16 extra lines.
We had a lot of color-coded tabs in our spreadsheet, believe it or not. We had notes next to everything. It was very important to us that we also stay on the same page together throughout the entire process too. We read every single piece, both of us that came in, and we wrote our notes to compare to each other, and we would talk through it. That was very important to us.
I mean, the quality of this does shine. I think that's very evident. Can I ask, do y'all have favorites? Are you allowed to pick a favorite
They're
thing?
all our
I
favorites.
know that's I lie too when I tell people that. You don't have to pick a favorite. I'm just curious.
Oh my goodness.
How about a handful of favorites? Give me a selection. Can you throw a smattering of things that are your favorites?
I think that I won't speak for Wendy. I'll speak for me and my taste in horror specifically and what resonates with me as a reader. I'm a big fan of grief horror. That is something that's my bread and butter. If I'm going to cry, I'm there. There are a couple essays in particular, I think, in the anthology that really moved me, especially. It's just I'm thinking of one in particular about the Twilight Zone.
Yes, it was so crazy. I was like, as I was reading this, I'm like, yeah, I love the Twilight Zone growing up. And then before it was even mentioned in the essay, I'm like, well, and I had just read Anne Sterling's book as well. And then it mentions in the essay, I'm like, oh gosh, yeah, it's really powerful.
Oh, definitely. And I think, I don't know, there was just something beautiful about that. And all the essays and then how they tied into the short fiction too. What I loved about this anthology in particular, the poetry and the drabbles, I think that they enhance the themes of the sections that they're in. Same with the short stories and the nonfiction. It was just really beautiful to see how people were expressing themselves through their creative nonfiction and fiction pieces. But we have no favorites. We have no favorites,
Okay.
Robert.
Okay.
No, what was really great though, and why I think that Grace and I were a good pairing together as editors, is that we had multiple pieces that we read them and we're like immediate yes. Like we don't have exact same taste, but we have similar enough taste that we knew what we wanted this book to be, that we both didn't have a hard time agreeing at all on what we wanted the final selections to be.
I think overall, I wrote down. I was writing down some quotes today, some of my favorite quotes, just skimming through the anthology, and there. Let me see. There was one from Avra Margheriti in particular. If you don't know Avra Margheriti, Avra is a Greek science fiction and horror author. They live in Greece, and I'm going to read a quote from their essay. Why fear the darkness when you can embrace it? And Avra says, "We all want to be seen at last, or especially through a grotesque transformation to fix the mistakes of the past and address the circular nature of trauma until horror becomes redemption." And that I read over that again today. I was like, wow, that does feel like it resonates for a lot of pieces in the anthology. But that particular first part, we all want to be seen. And I do think that might be maybe one of the reasons that we carried certain pieces into the anthology, because we're thinking about who do we want to pick up this book. And we had large audience in mind. We wanted this book to transcend more than just like a couple generations. We wanted to have a broad range of views from different decades as well. And I just keep thinking about, we all want to be seen, and how beautiful that is.
Red Riders is a great story. Her story is really, really good too. The layered of the kind of, I don't know, it's almost dreamlike with
It is like a fever dream.
The memory kind of, and then the I would call it a swerve, but a little twist, a little bit of a surprise, a little bit of that. I really appreciate also it was in the Tiffany Morris essay, and children's horror is inherently cosmic horror.
Yes.
I read it and I went,
how insightful.
That's really interesting. Now I'm like, should I write a kid's book then?
Yes, you should. Yes, please do.
I was like, that's really, I like it. I never thought about that ever in my entire life, and it really turned my thoughts on my head. Really appreciated that. And the Night Gallery, the Twilight Zone, as like, again, it touches upon there's we get, Twilight Zone, Night Gallery, Are You Afraid of the Dark? Which I still have deep,
don't we all,
trauma from stealing a clown's nose. Don't steal clowns' noses. Don't steal clowns' noses, guys. It's really simple. Don't do it. obviously, Goosebumps is kind of omnipresent, but and scary stories to
Tell
tell
in
in
the
the
dark.
dark. Yeah,
Yes.
like I have that same collection, that big hardcover with all three of them in there.
Mhm.
I'm
We,
gonna,
okay.
I want to commission that guy. I want to get, I
Oh,
want
Steve
art.
Hamill? He's still
Yeah,
alive.
I
He's still.
know, but I
I just
know.
looked.
I'm like, it
Mhm.
has to be expensive. I'm like, oh, I don't want to spend thousands of dollars on it, but
Quality work.
I know it is, and it probably wouldn't. I put that on the cover of a book, it probably would help it sell.
I just love the illustrations in
Uh,
that. In
I mean, they make it. They make that book, those books.
It's like everybody remembers, for the generation that grew up with scary stories to tell in the dark. Like you remember finding that cursed book in the school library, wondering why is this in my school library? You pick it and you like hoard it for a week. You tell your friends about it. You're like, I got this book. Oh, you
Right
got
there,
it.
Wendy's got it.
I
Mine
know.
was from Riff. Mine was free.
A gift from Rip.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
My mom got me an anniversary copy a couple of years ago at a local bookstore in San Antonio, and so it's a prized possession of mine. So when my oldest when kids are ready to read it, I'll pull it out. We are reading Bunnicula right now.
Yeah, the Angela Sylvain is also very good.
Yes, it's
I was a little. I don't. If maybe I was too old for Bunnicula. I'm not sure. I think I was just, my reading level was too old for
mhm.
Bunnicula. I jumped right over all the picture books.
Yeah, it says it could be ages 8 to 12 on the back, but
Oh,
I feel like I read it earlier though. Like, and I was telling Wendy, I was like, I distinctly remember at one point there was a picture book associated with this. I have not found it. I have looked for it. So trust everybody who's listening. I have
I
looked
was
for it. If you know where it is, tell me.
I was reading like Red Badge of Courage by the time I was 12 or something, like which I should. Why did my parents let me read the Red Badge of Courage? I don't know. There's a lot of that in here too, about
There
all
is.
of us encountering harsh
Oh,
fiction
100%.
much too young.
It's
Uh,
fine. Builds character.
Mhm.
I mean, we're all fine. We're all great writers. Look at this.
Well,
Everybody in this is great. Um, I was going to say something else. I had one other question. Oh yes, this is this is not necessarily related just to this specific anthology, because it says it's from all Bridges Gates Press anthologies do this, but the land yap.
mhm.
I was so surprised when I got there. I'm like, what the hell is this? What do we
Mhm.
go? We get a little extra. I kind of like that. I like a land yap. I might start
Yeah.
throwing in land yaps to things.
It's a
Mhm.
cool little extra offering as it has to say thank you, and I think we're really fortunate with Scott's essay and short story in particular. I just love. I feel like it's the perfect tie to everything on the anthology.
I mean, it's second person.
Hmm.
That kind of I've been seeing more of that, more second person stuff lately. I don't know why. Maybe I've just been reading more.
I think there's something a little foreboding about second person. Like when you're reading it aloud, you're like, oh, whew, it's a little spooky.
I mean, it's you. It's you. They're pulling you in. Um, I don't know. I can wholeheartedly recommend Poison Soup. We're gonna move on to the next section, next segment of the podcast. So we're already at 25
Oh
minutes.
my goodness.
It's fine. It's my fault. Yeah. It is time for the second act. Wendy's already experienced this once. So I'm gonna ask all new questions.
Okay.
So that Wendy doesn't get any repeats. And whenever Grace is going to be on this podcast by herself at some point. Then I'll repeat those other questions to Grace, so Grace can get those other questions. But I've gotten more since Wendy was on the show. So my first question is from our last guest, and I told this it's Grace Daly, who the Scald Crow came out this year, which I wholeheartedly recommend. And I told her it was going to be two people on the show for her, and so she geared the question to that, and I'm going to ask it as she asked it.
Oh boy.
If you had to select an outfit / costume / aesthetic / vibe for your co-editor to inhabit for an entire calendar year.
Ooh.
And the example she gave was Juggalo. So it could be, anything really, I think. What would it be and why?
I know the answer to this one for Grace. It would be a 1920s old Hollywood spider lady gown / like dressing gown thing. That's what she would wear.
Okay, for an entire calendar year.
Yeah, and it would be fine because she's got her poetry collection, The Lies We Weave. She's the spider lady.
Mm-hmm.
In my eyes, she's also very old Hollywood glamour in my eyes.
Oh.
So that would be what Grace would wear.
That's very good.
Okay. I also think I know exactly what I would pick. I would pick some kind of like jazzercise get up from the 80s. Like I imagine like Barbie with a chainsaw from the 80s specifically. Like if you can imagine like the old vintage Barbies in like their like vibrant purple and pink and blue. I'm like, oh no, there's a chainsaw. What's happening? And I think
Totally
that
Chainsaw Barbie.
Chainsaw Barbie.
Chainsaw
Cue the intro for Wendy's slasher coming up, Killer Summer, Killer Summer. Yeah, I think that's the aesthetic I would pick because it feels very true to Wendy's writing.
That's good. I'm proud of y'all for adapting for that. I'm like, when she told me that question, I'm like, okay, well, we'll find out. I'll ask y'all for a question for our next guest at the end of this.
Okay.
So y'all can ponder that in the background. I can also tell you who that will be if you want to know. If you want to keep it in the dark, you can also do that. So question for the meantime, and I think a very appropriate question for this is, what was your gateway horror media?
You want to go first, Wendy?
Oh, me? Okay, well, I already had it ready, obviously. Scary stories to tell in the dark. But before that, so I was a very voracious reader as a kid. I would read a book a day. And so I started with Boxcar Children. I went to Babysitter's Club, and then Babysitter's Club ended up having these mysteries, which had ghosts in them. And I think that was probably the bridge for me. Also, I don't know what it was about the 80s and 90s, but there was just horror media everywhere for us. It was just spoon fed to us. And so it was just, Are You Afraid of the Dark? Tales from the Crypt, just and I was, allowed to consume whatever I wanted to media wise. And so by the time I was 10 years old, I think I was starting to read adult stuff. I had gone through the whole R.L. Stine and Christopher Pike catalog. And so, yeah, it started really early for me, but I do think that if I really want to it's the Babysitter's Mysteries that was it bridged the gap for me.
Are the ghosts in that actual ghosts, or is it like the Scooby-Doo where they're
it's very Scooby-Doo, but okay. I think if I remember, some of them probably were a little ambiguously actual ghosts.
Okay. All right.
I think for me, I touch upon it a little bit in my editor's note in the essay. A lot of it was secondhand, growing up and coming home to hey, what's on TV? It's Lake Placid, or it's Poultry, or it's Poltergeist, which I got to see Poltergeist a couple of years ago again for the first time in a very long time, and it still scared me.
Poltergeist is a scary movie.
It is a scary
it's
movie.
Really I guess I did too. Also saw that as a child, and the clown doll.
The clown doll. For me, it's the steak. It's the steak going across the counter that stayed with me.
That damn tree. The tree roots in the empty swimming, the carved out swimming pool that's not quite a swimming pool yet.
Mm-hmm. So I would say my entryway is through my dad in terms of my dad loves horror. My dad is a big Stephen King fan. I remember him reading voraciously when I was a child, Stephen King books in the house. But because he was home when I would come home from school, he would be watching reruns of MASH. And then, of course, for whatever reason, there were always reruns of Lake Placid and Poltergeist specifically. And I don't know what channel it was on, if it was AMC or what it was at the time. Whatever was happening in 1996.
I would say that sounds like TBS to me.
It could
like a
be.
TBS, a USA. I would know because it's like that. It feels
Mhm.
like a USA or a TBS or a TNT.
Oh yeah.
Poltergeist in particular was definitely a TBS movie.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
You know
sure.
what's interesting to me, like besides like children's cartoons and shows like on like Nickelodeon that we were exposed to, I feel like I didn't really get into horror until I think I was a teenager. I would come home from school, and this is different working hours. My dad had worked at a different place at that point. But I remember coming home from school, and I forget if it was oh, it was Comcast where you could go look like search through the menu to find movies, and I just started finding all the horror movies, and I would watch them after school, like it was like a secret before my parents came home. I feel like I didn't come into reading horror until later on, so I watched and enjoyed horror as a medium through television and movies before I really enjoyed it through books.
Robbie, did you ever watch Dr. Paul Bear growing up at all?
No, I didn't get. No, I know of Dr. Paul
Mhm.
Bear. I know Paul Bear because of wrestling. That Paul Bear, hello, that Paul Bear with the Undertaker. I know of Dr. Paul Bear, but I didn't get that.
Mhm.
Whatever. What channel was what
Gosh, I don't
syndication
know.
on? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I never. We also had very limited channels as a child, so
Yeah,
I didn't really
we
get
we would get it
everything.
down in Fort Myers where I grew up, and so I had, this little black and white TV in my room, and I would watch that growing up.
Mm,
And I watched Elvira a lot, so a lot of those were a lot of my first early, exposures to, was a lot of horror camp, like horror comedy, like really.
mhm.
I mean, it's an easy entry point too. It's like, oh, it's
Mhm,
funny, so you can. It
mhm.
makes it also let. I don't know. I feel like parents are like, oh, it's funny, so it's fine.
Yes,
It's
it's fun,
fine.
It's
it's fun.
fine. Evil Dead 2, people getting their limbs chainsawed off, but it's funny, so it's fine.
What about you, Robbie? What was your entry point to horror? I have to ask you this.
Um, I mean, it's a lot of these similar things. I mean, I read Goosebumps voraciously. I watched Tales from the Crypt at much too young an age. I watched Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2 at much too young an age. I remember distinctly Ash chainsawing people's limbs off, and I was just like, "What the?" And like, the Sam Raimi. Now you watch it and it's very silly. It's so much gore. It's absurd. But as a 7-year-old child, I was like, oh my god, the goop coming out of this is insane. This can't be real. I remember distinctly, my parents let me watch almost everything. I remember them very distinctly saying, no, Robbie, you can't watch Seven, when I was
Mm,
when it came out. Like, I was 10.
Hmm.
That No, I shouldn't watch Seven when I was 10 years old, but I eventually did end up watching Seven. But it's probably better I didn't watch it when I was 10. But Goosebumps and Tales from the Crypt, then, and I watched Twilight Zone. I watched
mhm.
I don't know. There's lots of like, also like the action adjacent, like Alien and Predator and those movies which have horror elements in them.
Hmm.
Alien is a horror movie, but Aliens, is more of an action movie. Terminator, those kind of things they also had, where I think, was a boy and I was like, yeah, Arnold. Yeah. I mean, Predator is a perfect movie. I will fight anyone who wants to argue with me. Um, but it's like, I don't know. Like, I was also reading. Then I jumped straight to Stephen King, Dean Koontz, Clive Barker. I read everything I could find in the library, and I would go to used bookstores with my mom, and my mom would just buy me whatever books I wanted because they were a quarter.
Hmm.
So she'd be like, we just come home with stacks of books, and most of them were not like great books, but they had monsters on the cover, so like they were great. Like,
I, I loved the horror comics that you could get.
oh, I
Mhm.
mean, I read comics too. I was also, I think there's a similar word. I was a voracious reader as a child. I read everything. I also was reading classics like Red Badge of Courage and Johnny Tremaine and, the things you're supposed to read when you're in high school, what I was reading when I was 9 or whatever. I don't know what I got out of Johnny Tremaine when I was 9 years old, but, um, okay. Question. What is the last book you read that evoked a visceral physical reaction? both of y'all's facial reactions. Brilliant.
Which kind of reaction?
Just anything physical. It could be like, it could be, it doesn't have to be bad. It could be good. It's up to you.
I think it's not a horror book though.
That's fine. It doesn't
But-
have to be.
I'm going to say Sky Daddy.
Oh my gosh.
Is that the plain book?
It is
It
the
is the
plain
plain
book.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought.
And I say this one because as I was reading it, I would be like, oh my God, like out loud. I would say it out loud as I'm reading it. And it's one of those books that you recommend to people, but then you're just like, you have to know that they're like, okay with that kind of book. But yeah, I was just like, I was like, no, you're really not. Oh, okay. So that's probably the last one that I read that I sped through, and just as I'm reading, I'm like, what? Like, I enjoyed it.
Oh my goodness. I think I'll do my most recent read, The Exorcist.
Okay.
Look at that cutie patootie.
I've seen that cover float around so much lately. It's a very good cover.
It's very cool. It glows in the dark.
Yeah.
Highly recommend it. But I had never read The Exorcist until this year, and I've seen the movie a couple of times. Like, you know what? I'm gonna read it. And I think going into it, I thought I knew what to expect, and then reading it, I think the emotions I felt. I can see why in 1971 this probably scared the bejesus out of people, because I had a couple of those moments here. I'm like, no, she didn't. No, she didn't.
I would suggest Legion as well as is also it's a good. This technically a sequel, not really. It's sort of a sequel, but Exorcist 3 is based on Legion.
Oh, okay.
The William Peter Blatty book, and William Peter Blatty actually directed Exorcist 3, not William Friedkin. But I would also recommend the William Friedkin documentary Leap of Faith, which is about the making of The Exorcist, which is incredible. It's on Shudder.
I'm gonna look that up.
That's a general suggestion for everybody. And it's like that's just like good for like it's very it pumped me up. I'm like, I gotta go make a good book. I gotta go do it. Because it's a lot about art and William Friedkin. Like he didn't just direct The Exorcist; he directed a lot of great movies. Okay, this is a writing question. We've been focusing on all y'all's editorial duties, but y'all are both excellent writers as well. So, what is a daily practice, or at least a common practice that you have that keeps your writing momentum going?
Coffee.
Drugs.
It's coffee, caffeine. I think right now I like to experiment with different ways. I think it depends on the project. Personally, right now I'm using a word counter for a novel length project I'm working on. But it depends on what's happening in your life, right? I have small kids at home. My life is dictated by two small humans. So I'm not able to have large blocks of time to sit down and write. So for me, if I can break that up somehow, like if I can do 650 words in the morning, 650 words in the evening, that's a great goal to shoot for. I don't have to meet it, but that's the goal. But mostly coffee.
Coffee. Wendy, you got anything?
Gosh, for me, I try to make myself take breaks in between manuscripts because I think between my stuff that I write for myself and then my ghostwriting, my freelance work that I do, I think I've written 5 or 6 manuscripts this year.
That's a lot.
So I try to make sure that I take time off in between. Like right now, I'm in my Cats in Space 1,000 piece jigsaw puzzle phase. So like I've finished my manuscript, and so I do a puzzle or I do some other kind of like non-writing thing to think about what I wrote and make myself not write because I'm just always writing, just always.
Yeah.
And so it's not good to always write and be obsessed about it.
Yeah.
And feel like that's all I need to do, because then you lose track of other things you enjoy in life. And I want to continue to enjoy writing. And so since I am very prolific and this is what I mainly do, I try to make myself take time where I'm not writing.
Yeah. I think it's also good to write in different mediums.
Mm-hmm.
I think to keep up your momentum in general in writing, not just for one specific project. I think like if you get some people, like, especially when you're newer to writing, you're looking for every submission call. You're looking for that thing that's going to spark some kind of inspiration in your brain, even though inspiration does not always come. But maybe you're tired of that. Try something new. Try writing poetry. Read poetry. I was like me here on the podcast. You should read poetry, horror poetry specifically. But yeah, I think trying to write even outside of your genre, I think, is a good exercise as well to keep, because it will help you grow in your craft no matter what.
As I was on a genre blending cross genre panel at Spooky Empire talking about that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very valuable for even if you plan on being mostly our author or our writer, having that other stuff and accessing that other stuff. It requires slightly different skill set, different focus in different aspects of your story, and you can bring that back in to horror. And it's a very useful skill, and it does help keep up love. We still like what you said, Wendy. You do want to like to write.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to make it you don't want to hate it. If you're ever feeling like you hate it, stop for a while.
Yeah.
Take a break. Go do a cat puzzle as Cats in Space. I always associate puzzles with the beach because we'd always do puzzles at the beach.
Oh yeah.
If we'd stay for do a vacation at the beach, we'd do 1,000-piece puzzle. We'll do one more question. All right. Well, what is your favorite and least favorite thing about your own writing? Wendy Grace turned into a Muppet. Oh, what happened? What do we do?
Oh,
Grace is a Muppet now. What do we do?
Okay. I guess I'll go first this time, I guess. I think my favorite thing about my writing, I really love when I can really get into the zone with lyricism. Man, that makes me feel on top of the world when I can get into that zone. But I can't always get into it. I'm trying to be better at practicing it. But I think that's my favorite thing is lyricism, especially in like short fiction, because I feel like when people can do it, it reads like a song, and it's just a smooth ride the whole way through, and it can be fun, it can be beautiful, it can be dark. With poetry, I think I like being able to touch upon like visceral feelings, like that are associated with dark literature. Least favorite, comfort words that I have to cross out consistently in a manuscript. Breathes, like she breathes.
I do lots of breathing too. I'm guilty of breathing a lot.
Characters are always breathing. Stop breathing.
I mean, I'm also kind of a staunch defender of breathing. I think breathing is a good, like, blocking and busy work. They always talk about that in film, and I think about that when I'm writing. And like sometimes it's like, well, they're just not doing anything. So what are they doing? They're breathing. And breath is important. Breath is like, it moderates your emotions. It's valuable. I'm sorry. Now, don't hate your breath. Don't hate all your breaths. Your breaths.
Don't hate your breathes.
Don't hate your breathes. Wendy, what do you got?
I guess so. My favorite thing about my writing is that I've been fortunate enough to, in my self-publishing and with the publishers that I'm working with now, I'm able to write in my own voice and not feel like I have to change it to be in line with anybody else's idea of what horror might be or what it might sound like on the page. My voice is very important to me in what I write, and I don't want to have to feel like I ever have to change that just to be published. And so I'm really proud that I've stuck to that, and I don't want to like just try to write to market or write to whatever I think is popular at the moment. I'm really proud that I can write for me and write for the people who want to read what I write. And as far as what I don't like. I have a poetry collection that may or may not come out. I feel like I've had a few pieces of poetry published, and it's not my strong suit. And I do want to work on it a little bit more. I feel like because I'm writing poetry in my voice, it might sound a little naive or a little not as polished. So yeah, I think I'm a little self conscious about my poetry, but I do still enjoy it, and I enjoy writing it. So I'm going to keep doing it.
I mean, no one reads my poetry because it's miserable. It's terrible.
I want to read your poetry.
No, you don't. It's so bad. It's the worst.
Poetry.
It is such bad poetry. It is like when I find people who are good at it, poetry. Like I say, poetry is the hardest thing in the world to me, and people who are good at it, it's like a marvel. I don't know how they do it. When I write poetry, it's like, hey, you know that guy William Blake? Here's a really bad knockoff of it. It's really bad. I loved all the Victorians, all the romantics, and the Victorians. Those are my guys.
I think bad poetry is still worthy poetry, but that's just.
I mean, I'm not saying don't write bad poetry. I'm not telling anyone who wants to write poetry write it. It will probably be bad because I think most poetry is bad in the vast majority of the world. If you take up all the poetry, most of it's not good. But don't not write it because it's bad.
There's a famous quote about. There's a quote about that. I'll find it and send it to you later. I was like, a famous quote I'm thinking of. I will find it and send it to you after this.
About bad poetry. Okay. I mean, I'll love it. I'll probably keep it forever because I love keeping little quotes in my head. Okay. Question for the next guest, y'all. Do you have one? You have any?
I have an idea. I have a good one.
Okay. What's that?
What's your favorite soup?
That's good. That's excellent. I love that.
That's a good one.
We haven't had I haven't had soup talk in this podcast.
We haven't had a single soup talk, and Grace and I are so soup focused in our marketing for this book.
We really are.
It's really good. I want to say, y'all, your social media stuff is really funny. It makes me laugh.
We built our algorithm brick by brick. It's just soup now. If there's horror things happening, I'm not seeing it in the algorithm anymore. And I'm sorry, everybody. It's just soup related content.
Well, now that you posed this question, I have to ask you, what are y'all's favorite soups?
Oh, okay.
I make a really good butternut squash soup, and that's like my favorite.
Squash is a good soup.
Like for fall.
Oh man, I'm a sucker for broccoli cheddar. I really am. Broccoli cheddar for sure, in a bread bowl specifically, so that I can also eat the bread bowl like I'm eating like the husk.
I mean,
around it.
I assume bread is. I don't want soup unless there's bread.
I want both. Dip it.
You have to have a good crusty, some sort of something or other.
Yeah.
It feels sourdough, perhaps something there. Julia Child's French onion soup is if it didn't take 4 hours to make, I'd make it every day. But unfortunately, it does take 4 hours to make.
Yeah. If you were a witch, Robbie, and you had a cauldron of soup, what would the cauldron of soup be, and what would you use as your dipping?
I'm the one asking questions here. What's going on?
I have to know.
If I was a witch, okay. So this is like layers. I've got to build this. What if I was a witch? If I was a witch and I had a cauldron, I'm very perplexed by this. What did you ask me? If I was a witch, and what was my cauldron be?
If you had a cauldron, what would your soupy cauldron be filled with? And what would you?
I mean, I assume it would be the Julia Child's French onion soup. I don't know. To cast a spell, it'd probably have to something. I mean, honestly, here's the actual answer. It'd be energy drinks. That's the actual answer because I consume, like as you coming back to caffeine, I consume, and that is actually French onion soup is a delicious, lovely thing. Mm-hmm. Energy drinks are like poison that I put in my body to make books come out. So that would be it, and the bread would also be something vile, probably. Like Skittle bread. I don't know, something. It'd have to be something like that. Candy flavored bread.
Anything can be soup if you can put it over a burner and boil it.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say cereal soup, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh. Like, yeah. Well,
milk?
I'm
milk and Fruity Pebbles. That could also be be in the point, because that would also be If we're doing Robbie coated soups, it'd be milk and Fruity Pebbles.
Oh,
An entire box of Fruity Pebbles. Whole box.
ugh,
That's what I eat for dinner when my wife's not home.
nice.
It's just a
That's-
box, an
That's
entire
probably what
box.
my husband eats too.
I mean, she doesn't. She inspires good in me, so I don't eat it while she's here. But when she's not here, I descend into decadence and eat Fruity Pebbles for dinner. Okay, that's it for this second act. What's your favorite soup? That's going to catch this person off guard. I'm very excited
I'm
about
gonna be like, what are you talking about?
it. We'll talk about soup. I think everyone has an opinion about soup. I think that's the thing. We all have thoughts about soup.
We do.
It's time for the final part of the show. It is time for blood. It is time for trouble. It is time for struggle. It is time for things you're having trouble with. This could be anything. This could be a work in progress. This could be publishing related, business things, ethos things. It could be any of those things. Y'all have anything off the top of your head you want to talk about? You're willing to talk about on the air and not about something you're having trouble with?
I'm getting ready for Query Trenches again. So there's that.
Oh, good. I can talk to you. I mean, I could talk to you about that for 3 hours.
Yeah, and it's like you have to do it. You dread it, and I know that for the next year or however long, it's just the dread of like, when are you going to get an email that's like, that the majority of them are going to be no, that you're going to have to do all this work and it's probably going to be for nothing. And how do you connect with an agent? And then once you even do that, there's no guarantee that your story will be sold and will see the light of day. And even if there's that, it could be 3 years from now until that story sees the light of day. And so I know I need to go on, do the whole querying thing again. Do I want to do it just because I know how grueling it is? No, but it's the next step for me. So that's what I have to do. And I just have to be a big girl about it.
Be a big girl. Yeah. I mean, I got a rejection for Words of Christ in Red. Which I had self-published this year, and I had queried with it 14 months ago, and I got the no 14 months later. I'm like, I've moved on with my life. 14 months is too long. I'm not waiting that long.
I feel like there's got to be a cutoff. Like, just don't bother. Just like,
I assumed it was a no, and it was just a form no. It was not a. It was not a like, oh yeah, I read it and I really connected, but it was. I appreciate you, but publishing is a real hard business, and we don't like you. Boy, they all say the same thing.
I love the cover for that book, by the way.
Oh, well, thank you. It's a painting from the 1890s that I downloaded.
Beautiful. I love
Thank
it.
you. I mean, there's lots of I don't need to commission an artist to draw a painting of the Passion of the Christ, because there's lots of people in history who've done that for me. They really love doing that. I'm also going to be doing that shortly, Wendy. So
we can cry to each other then.
I support you.
It's a lot of. It's just rejection. I don't know, or people. They say, or the very few times I get like non-form responses, and they tell me why they didn't like it. For like, oh, I like this, but I don't like this. I'm like, that's kind of the important part of the story. The thing you don't like. If I don't do it that way, the story doesn't work. Like they're like, I wish this story was slower. I'm like, what? But they didn't say that, but they said like, I wish I could know more about this character before he got in the action. I'm like, that's the whole point, man. You get that stuff later as if I feed it slow. Okay, sorry. I'm just complaining. Grace, what do you got?
Oh, I was thinking about it. I think for me, right now, especially in the middle of writing a novel length work, is reminding myself that it's okay to be where I'm at right now. If that makes sense. I think because especially in the writing community, social media, there's a lot of it's easy to compare yourself to another person, not realizing maybe some of the, like, you don't see what happens behind the scenes for anybody. You see what they present to you on social media. So I think sometimes I beat myself up thinking like, oh, I didn't publish this many things this year. I didn't get into these anthologies, or like I said I was going to finish this poetry collection. It's not finished yet. I have to remind myself it's okay to go at the pace that I'm at, because I'm still enjoying it and I am growing my craft, and that's very important. And especially for me, like, longer fiction is more challenging, and so learning that process of stretching out a story and falling in love with the characters that you're writing, I'm telling myself it's okay. It's okay to be where I'm at, and I will get to where I'm going at the pace that I'm meant to be.
You can't. Yeah, people only post their successes, or most people only post their successes, or they don't post the many the many rejections, the many failures, the bad days. They don't do that because social media is construction. It's not real. It's a fictional. It is it's as fictional as the stories of the novels we write. I had that thought this morning.
Yeah, I do like when there's authors who, like, they'll kind of like pull the curtain aside and be like, hey, I didn't have such a great writing day today, or I didn't have a great publishing week. And just if you're feeling that way, I feel that way too. And there was like a really nice, like, lift up your friends chain I saw like this week that was really lovely. Like, shout out to Catherine Silva. That was such a nice thing. And I kind of hope that we can see more of that. And it comes and goes, but it is nice when it happens, because it just shows that we're all going through the same thing, and that even though writing is a solitary act, we're all in this together. We're all part of one big community. And it's important to support each other, our wins, and sometimes when we're feeling low too.
Couldn't say it better myself. Where can they, before we go, where can we find y'all? Where can we get Poison Soup?
Oh my goodness.
Well, Poison Soup will hopefully be up for pre-order or for sale in December from Bridget's Gate Press. And then you can find me, Wendy Dalrymple, mostly on Instagram, sometimes on Threads, sometimes on TikTok, and at my website, www.wendydalrymple.com. I have a book coming out December 2nd, Christmas Demon, which is a sequel to Birthday Party Demon from Mad Axe Media. It's a 1990s Fear Street, Christopher Pike inspired, just like YA horror, super fun, super silly. And then Bedrock Baby is coming out in February.
Ooh, I also love that cover. That's a great cover.
I'm very.
And while we're on the topic of covers, our cover here for Poison Soup is illustrated by the wonderful Allison Flanders. Grace and I couldn't have been more happy with how it turned out. It's beautiful.
It's a great cover. It's really good.
I think I screamed. I screamed when I saw it. I was like, she's a fine artist out of Denver, Colorado, I want to say.
Sure, yeah.
It's been cool. I stalk her page now. Like, how are you making this? This is amazing. I love it. Readers can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Grave Reynolds. Grave.
Get it?
Crawl into the grave kind of deal. Grave Reynolds, or my website, gravereynolds.com with a V, not a C. And Instagram, TikTok, and my website. And then next May, I have a honky tonk slasher coming out called Neon Moon, coming out from Dark Matter Inc.
Also excited about that.
Yeah.
You'll be back on for that, right? Right.
Yes, if you'll have me. Yes.
Absolutely. I got to, because I got to ask you the essential second act questions that Wendy has already answered.
Oh boy.
And then you'll get them whenever you be on the show. Thank you all for being on the show. Really do appreciate it.
Hey,
thank you, Robbie.
for having us.